Hi, my name is Lee Folks, and I am doing a video on why we need a third party. And I have this list here I made. There's so many issues to cover. This list is not meant to be exhaustive, just a sampling of 20 to 25 issues. At the end of this video, I invite you to make comments on any issue that should be added to this list. And the first one is supports imperialism, endless wars, control of 150 plus countries with about 750 military bases and or permanent economic sanctions on countries such as Iraq, Afghanistan, Iran, Palestine, Venezuela, Cuba, Nicaragua, ad infinitum. Next, the war machine is threatening China, and who knows who's next. The Republican Party, Democratic Party both support this permanent, endless wars on all these countries. And the party that we want is no. We want the U.S. to focus on making Americans strong at home, not endlessly bombing other countries into submission. Next issue supports new Cold War in China. Both Republicans and Democrats support that Cold War in China. And the People's Party, no, we don't. Next issue, we seek to defund police, mass incarceration, and the for-profit school-to-prison pipeline, which has accelerated since the 1990s, targeting mostly poor non-whites. And this has been instigated by both the Democratic Party behind people like Bill Clinton, Joe Biden, and the Democratic Party, and also the Republican Party. And the defunding of police, some people think it's either 100% or 0% defunding, but that's really absurd because realistically, we'd like to cut the first year, maybe cut the police funding by at least 10% per year, maybe 20% per year, for at least several years, and shift the money to mental health services, housing, education, healthcare, which would naturally reduce crime without paying police officers for unnecessary, excessive harassment of the citizens. The U.S. supposedly called the land of the free. That's what I learned in school. But we have become, over the last 25 years, the highest per capita incarceration rate in the entire world. So how can we be the land of the free when we're actually the opposite? Which party would seek to shift money away from police and prisons and increase funding for housing, education, and healthcare? And neither the Republican Party nor the Democratic Party has made any movement to change that over the past 25 years. The People's Party, yes, they would absolutely move to change that and reduce the prison population and increase people's quality of life on the outside so there would be no need to have so many in jail. Okay, now of the three parties, which would cancel unprecedented, suffocating, and massive college student debt? And the Republicans and Democrats have done nothing over the past 3 decades to change that, only increase student college debt and permanent debt slavery, basically. And the People's Party would seek to get rid of that and publicly fund education by taxing billionaires and not allow them to have their offshore tax havens and avoid paying taxes. Okay, which party would ban excessive interest charged by predatory payday lenders or shut them down altogether? Both payday lenders are supported by both the Republican and Democratic parties. People's Party would seek to ban this usury or excessive interest. Will hold police accountable both criminally and civilly for gratuitous violence against unarmed people such as the killing of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Michael Brown, Tamir Rice, Sandra Bland. I could go on and on. There's 100 more I could name right here. It's an endless list. Every month or two there's another one. Just in Rochester, New York, I think about a month ago, another black man was shot in the back 7 times for just simply getting into his minivan. And both parties would refuse to hold police accountable for this, whereas the People's Party would hold them accountable. Maybe make them have a liability policy where they could, just like a car insurance policy, where if they continued to make claims on this policy, eventually the rates would go so high they would not be able to pay it, and then they would be forced to find another profession. Okay, supports Medicare for all. Republican and Democrats, no, they don't. Not Biden, not Trump. Not Bush, not Obama, not Clinton, none of them. People's Party, yes, we support Medicare for all. It's kind of like, it would just be kind of like having the VA hospital for everybody, not just veterans. Supports a Green New Deal. Democrats and Republicans, no. They're pretty much the same party, by the way. And People's Party, yes, we would support a Green New Deal. Would stop mass evictions during or at the end of COVID-19 pandemic. Republicans and Democrats, of course, the answer is no. They will side with the landlords. People's Party would side with the people or the tenants and do land reform, allotting each people a plot of land so they could not be evicted from their home ever, because it would be family property and it would never be allowed to be owned by the top 5% who could basically own everything and raise the rents as high as they want, pay you as low as they want, and evict you uh, uh, without limit as to how many evictions they could do. Next one, allow corporate billionaires to undemocratically buy out and set a party's platform. But both the Democrat and Republican Party have been bought out by billionaires such as Michael Bloomberg. He went over from the Republican Party to buy out the Democratic Party. They got George Soros, who bought out the Democratic Party. There's at least 40 or 50 more billionaires who bought it out. The Republican Party's been bought out by the Koch brothers, Sheldon Adelson, and the Billionaire Club basically has bought out both parties, while the People's Party would not allow this to happen. They would ban legalized bribery known as campaign contributions. Okay, there's a 1937 law in place to ban marijuana, and both the Democrats and Republicans have done nothing to change that in about 83 years now. They've done nothing. People's Party would legalize recreational marijuana, something neither Biden nor Trump wants to do. Now, would prosecute Wall Street bankers who commit financial fraud on a grand scale, including fraudulent home foreclosures. And that both the Republicans and Democrats, of course, are on the side of the Wall Street bankers. They do nothing to prosecute these white-collar criminals who steal billions from the people every year and have stolen millions of houses, especially during the housing crisis back in 2008, 2009. That was done by both the Democratic and Republican parties. People's Party would put these financial fraudsters in jail. Supports a women's right to abortion. Well, here's one issue that the Democrats agree with the People's Party on. That would be, yes, they would want to keep Roe v. Wade in place, whereas the Republican Party is about to make the Supreme Court a 6-3 majority in just a matter of a week or so before Election Day. And you could bet in 2021 they will overturn Roe versus Wade in just a matter of a few months. Support same-sex marriage. Republicans usually do not. Some do, but the party does not. And Democrats and People's Party agree on that. They support same-sex marriage. Supports minimum wage of at least $15 an hour. Democrats and Republicans have not done that ever historically. Now, recently I've heard rumblings about Biden is considering that. Considering, maybe. But the People's Party, we have supported that this entire year. Supports universal basic income of at least $1,000 per month. Republicans and Democrats, once again, they agree on that. It's no. No, they don't. And People's Party, it's yes. Supports transparency and accountability at the Federal Reserve Bank. Republicans and Democrats, no. No transparency. Endless financial crimes going on there to further increase the wealth inequality, which has been increasing every year for like the last 40 consecutive years. Now it's just gotten so far extreme. The middle class is virtually gone. We're kind of returning to the old slave and master days where most Americans are going to end up as permanent debt slaves. And the People's Party supports accountability and transparency at the Federal Reserve Bank, something neither party has done for the last 107 years of that bank's existence. Would push for companies being owned by employees who actually produce the profits, not merely wealthy CEOs and stockholders who reap all the profits produced by workers. Think about Amazon. They got hundreds of thousands of workers, making Jeff Bezos incredibly rich. Well, that money should be profit shared with the employees. Simple as that. Neither the Democrats nor the Republicans want to do that. People's Party, yes, we want more wealth equality. Would seek to stop offshore tax havens which enable billionaires to avoid paying taxes. And of course, Republicans and Democrats, it's no. People's Party, yes. Land reform would stop debt slavery due to excessive mortgages and rents and apportion a small plot of land to all Americans. Republicans and Democrats, it's no. People's Party, It's yes. All right, would stop mass deportations of law-abiding, asylum-seeking immigrants. Democrats and Republicans? No. Obama deported more people than even Bush did. With Trump, it continues unabated. It's only the People's Party would treat these immigrants like human beings and not like animals and put them in cages. Now, who would stop ICE facilities such as that in Irwin County, Georgia, who just last month they were forcibly sterilizing young women while they're put under sedation without their knowledge? Democrats, Republicans have done nothing to stop that. They allowed it to happen, and they've done nothing to stop it. People's Party would not allow that to happen at all. We would probably pretty much go in terms of abolishing ICE. Would stop exploitation of virtual slave labor in poor countries. Democrats and Republicans, no. People's Party, yes. Okay, now this does not cover every issue. Now I'm just going to show a few pictures here of the election day coming up. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 was effectively gutted by the Republican Supreme Court. By the way, the Republicans have controlled the Supreme Court since 1970. That's 50 consecutive years. And with this latest Trump appointment of Amy Coney Barrett, now they're set to control for the next 20 to 30 years. That's about 80 consecutive years of Republican control. And they gutted the Voting Rights Act a few years, maybe 6 or 7 years ago. Forgot the exact year. But that's already been gutted as we speak right now. Now here on the cross-check voters list, here there's major election fraud going on in 2016, and you could bet that will happen again. And this is a case where there's 94,000 supposed felons who were stricken from the voter rolls in many different states, and actually 0 of these people were actual felons, but they were accused to be felons because they had the same name. For example, William Edwards. Well, there's one William Edwards somewhere who was a convicted felon. So that way everybody with that name, William Edwards, would be stricken from the voter rolls. And you notice there's not even any birth dates here. They couldn't even do birth date matching. And Brandon Jackson, for example, you'll see 6 Brandon Jacksons here. Now, since they're all named Brandon Jackson, they're all accused of double and triple voting. So even though they had different middle names, they lived in different states, they had different social security numbers, different birth dates. Since they all had the name Brandon Jackson, they were all accused of double voting in like 6 different states. And they were all stricken from the rolls. And the same thing occurred for thousands of other common names. And this here shows that the voting ballot box has been bought out by billionaires in both parties. They own the ballot box, and they can manipulate the vote to guarantee that one of their friends, who's friendly to Wall Street bankers, will always win, and that a guy like Bernie Sanders would never win. A Green Party candidate would never win, not even a libertarian, as the Green Party's been stricken from the ballot in about 15 states at the last minute by the Democratic Party. And for example, they would have been on the ballot in Arizona, but they were just taken off the ballot a few weeks before the ballots were printed and sent out. And here's another example of, for example, Michael Brown. These are all different Michael Browns, okay? But they were accused of double voting, so they would both have their votes nullified in Chris Kobach's cross-check program, which was used in 29 states in 2016, including the state of Arizona. Pretty much every state that had a Republican governor used this program, and was election fraud, basically. That's Chris Kobach there of Kansas. He wrote SB 1070, the infamous driving while brown law. He's from Kansas. His name is Chris Kobach. Chris starts with a K. Kobach starts with a K. He's from Kansas. That starts with a K. Do you see the acronym here? And cross-check, yeah, that starts with a C. But this is the Republican guy who wrote the program, which was a very simple computer program, which had stricken millions of people from the voting rolls in 29 different states, including Arizona, enabling Trump to win, even though he lost the popular vote, but would have lost by even more had not so many votes been stricken. All right. Well, this is just the red states, are just the states which had cross-check in 2016, and many of these states will have cross-check again in 2020. though I don't know the exact amount. Some states were forced to get rid of it. Alright, so that will conclude this video. Thank you.